Ireland and South Africa, folks. Rugby World Cup 2023. 13 points to 8. Ireland get the job done. It felt like a bit of a final. Who knows? Maybe it will be. But we will go through some key events and stats. You guys can let us know your thoughts. This game had lots of little storylines going on, didn't it? Like the fact that Ireland couldn't win a bloody line out early. And they managed to finally get that right throughout the course of the game. South Africa started the lead with some points off the boot, but did they find their kicking boots for the rest of the game? No, they seemed to lose them. They couldn't get them. Ireland certainly had the better of the first half. I thought South Africa had the better of the second half. Maybe that's the 7-1 split. In action, it seemed to work a treat because there were no injuries to the backs. A lot to unpack. But yeah, you guys can certainly let us know your thoughts. I say it felt like a final, man. Just the vibe, the atmosphere, and the battles within the game itself. I mean, I thought the South Africans edged the anthem, but then once the Irish fans got into Fields of Anthem Rye, I felt like the Irish edged the atmosphere, so there was a lot going on. I mean, Kelleher smashed Bealham. South Africa tried to run it out their own 22, ended up passing it into Tadhg, all within the first minute. It was like really high tempo start. But Ireland couldn't get their line out going. Oh my goodness. Like Kitsoff conceded a penalty. Touch for Ireland. South African line out steal. South Africa hoof it upfield. Hansen gets a ball from a wicked bounce. Gets it to Crowley. And then Ireland ended up conceding the first penalty of the game. Furlong off his feet. 3 points to 0 to South Africa. Kicking boots are on. And they're in the lead. Even though they've not been down the Irish end that much. Faf concedes a penalty for a deliberate knock-on. Ireland go for touch again. They knocked the bloody ball on at the line-out. One of the biggest early cheers was on 11 minutes when Ireland actually managed to win their own line-out ball. A bit of an ironic cheer from the fans because they must have been getting pretty frustrated. Beirne conceded a penalty at the breakdown. Another chance for Ireland. Another missed line-out. It seemed like it was going to be a consistent theme. But to be honest, they did eventually right that ship, fortunately. I guess that's, ideally you don't want that to happen at all. And in a closer game, even though this is pretty close, that may have been the difference. But at least they were able to kind of turn it around. Ireland did spin it wide a wee bit later on. You feel like James Lowe maybe wanted Keenan, because Lowe was out on his left. Maybe he wanted the ball to be kicked through from Keenan, but Keenan kept it in hand. He went close. Ireland knocked it on a few phases later. So kind of a missed opportunity. Then Ireland conceded a penalty for an early engagement. So kind of a bit of pressure down South Africa's end. Kind of a free exit for South Africa. And then when South Africa attacked from their ball, it was James Lowe who was able to win a penalty at the breakdown. And to be honest, man, like Ireland's work at the breakdown was pretty phenomenal. Like got them out of jail, or at least just got them possession a few times as South Africa were trying to build through some phases. Bealham, though, on 19 minutes, a great nudge when South Africa had some ball, puts Ireland 5 metres out on their own line. With their line out going the way it is, it seems like a genuine chance for South Africa. Beirne charges a box kick down, and then Ireland muck up another line out. So they are under a fair bit of pressure, especially not helped by the fact that Ringrose has to go off for an HIA, although he does come back on not too late. So he passes the HIA, which is a bit of good news. South Africa, big attack. Dale goes close. But then Lowe is able to put a stop to it. And there's a bit of handbags, which makes sense, man. Both sides have been down each other's end. Both sides have had pretty decent chances to pick up a try. Nobody's been able to kind of get that final blow in. And that's what I mean about it being like a final. It's just so hard to kind of land that final shot against defences like the Irish defence or like the South African defence. 24 minutes, South Africa got a 5 metre scrum. It's close. Creel, he pops the ball from a ground, but it's gathered by an Irish player. Archie with the big tackle on him. So, yeah, still unable to kind of get that final score. Hansen took a nice high ball, which is rare for Keenan to be beaten in the air. I thought Keenan maybe pulled Hansen to the ground a little bit, but a minute later, Archie is steaming down the field in return. So it's just genuinely tit for tat. Like Ireland went about 11 phases, opted for touch again. They still weren't going for their kicks. They mauled it. No, Van der Flier with a carry, went through some phases, but then they managed to get finally an advantage, which is that little bit of free play you need, and then they were able to spin it wide to Mack Hansen. Final ball from James Lowe, and you do get the first try on the board. The only try for Ireland on 33 minutes. So it took advantage, and it took some phase, like I said, 11 plus phases, but they finally managed to get that lead, which I think they were pretty good value for in that first half. Like I mentioned, South Africa did have a few attacking chances, but I feel like South Africa had the better of the second half, not the first. So 7-3. I mean, Damon Dillon has a big kick to get his team down the right end of the field, but then Pieter-Steph concedes a penalty for not rolling. At that point in the first half, the penalty counts 6-3. So anytime you double your opponent, I know it's still single digits, but it kind of makes it hard to get any continuity. And then Visa concedes a penalty for not releasing before halftime. So Ireland did have one more chance before halftime, but knocked it on. So it goes in 7-3. It's tight. Ireland's had 57% possession. They've had 58% territory. They've had 4 clean breaks to 1. But they've only managed 1 try. Part of that's their line-out being 7 from 12, which is not a great return, especially at test level. But they've had more run meters. Interestingly, South Africa's actually had more defenders beaten, 15-13. Malherbe's made 11 tackles from 11. Aki's made 4 defenders beaten. And South Africa's had to make 90 tackles to 52. So, yeah, the penalty count for South Africa needs to get better. And they need a bit more ball, whereas Ireland just need to get their line out right. Second half starts with a South African penalty conceded, so I'm thinking, geez, this trend is going to continue. If they're going to do this, at that point I'm thinking, if they're going to do this, this game is going to get away from them. But then they did get a shot at goal. Faf was able to take a really long shot, and it kind of did it hit like the padding on the base of the post? It didn't quite have the legs to go over, but South Africa were able to gather that ball. And then Eben went close, but the Irish guys virtually lifted him in the air for a maul turnover. So they kind of shut that down, and that's when the South Africans were able to kind of ring the changes, like Klein come on, Snyman come on, Smith came on. And you do feel like that little bit of extra gas in the tank from the South Africans with the subs was able to, I don't know, push them ahead with a bit of kind of physical dominance. Like they had a massive scrum of 47 minutes. The Irish got the ball out the back of it, but then they were going backwards, so Aki was under pressure. Penalty conceded, South Africa up for another scrum. They get advantage, and again, it's the advantage which seems to be that common denominator with both the tries in the game. Free play, spin it wide, quick hands still in there. Libok with the final pass to Colby. TMO has to have a long check of it. They had to halt Libok's conversion attempt, so he had a long time to think about it. But final pass is good, and it's a South African lead, 8-7. Missed conversion, but yeah, South Africa's in the lead. So, man, she's all to play for, eh? Willem's footwork I thought was pretty slick, and then to maybe counteract some of the South African physical dominance, the Irish guys make their changes, like Sheehan comes on, Henderson comes on. I thought Henderson was pretty good from when he came on. There was an accusation at one point for stepping on the hands, like deliberately, but they didn't stop for it. But Ben O'Keefe basically said he didn't see anything, but that was Bundee Aki saying something about that. I'm not sure what the deal was. But then, maybe the Irish subs are doing their job because Malherbe gets pinged at scrum time for overextending, and Ireland up for 3, 10-8. They're in front with 20 minutes to play. That lead is not going to change again. It's not like South Africa didn't have their chances because they immediately replied with a scrum penalty. They took a shot, and it goes wide. Then Sheehan's offside a couple of minutes later. This time it's Faf with a shot, and it's wide. Like, I know Jacques Ninaba and Siya Kolisi, I mentioned in the preview, they don't like being asked questions about the goal kicking, but geez, the goal kicking let them down. Big time. So, I mean, the game comes down to more than just kicks. There's multiple factors at play, but geez, the goal kicking. It finishes at 20%. Which in a game this tight is not going to get the job done. Conor Murray comes on. He pilfers Oxenche to maybe stifle a bit of South African momentum because you can feel like they've got the territory, they've got the position. Snyman comes on like a wee while later and then earlier, and he's got a break in the midfield. Put that guy in at centre. He's got a big line break. Ireland knocked the ball into touch from a tackle, so it's a chance for South Africa. They maul it. They get advantage. They go again, but the second time the line-out's not straight. Dion Ferre's second attempt, not the best. And then Ireland, I wouldn't say put the game to bed, but they made it look pretty comfortable when they put a big kick through. Creel has to track back. He gets caught by the Irish defenders downfield. It's turnover ball. They opt for a drop goal, but it's touched by a South African hand, so it's a scrum. South African concede a scrum penalty. Ireland up for the 3, 13 points to 8. It's looking tough. Like, I mean, South Africa have really got to scramble. They tried, man. Like, Colby had a big carry. He got turned over by Aki. You're thinking, is that game? No, Ireland concede one more penalty. It's a South African chance. Great touch finder. Another chance for Furlong at line-out time. They go long, which I thought was insane, but it's a great throw from Dion Furlong to come back from that previous era. And it's Maul time. Maul looks to be going forward. Irish defence powers up, stops the Maul. Maul collapses. Is it out? It looked like it was at the back, but the ref, I guess, realizes or comes to the conclusion that it was slightly too slow, and the ball's not coming out. It's a Maul stoppage, so that is game. That is game. 13 points to 8. Like, what a game. I don't know. It wasn't full of tries, but it was just full of so many moments, so many bits of momentum shifting, and both sides with like glaring things that they can work on, which other teams will be targeting. I mean, the Irish lineout came right during the game, but geez, it was bad at the start. It was genuinely awful. And the South African goal kicking. And the discipline a bit in the first half, but they managed to come right in the second as well. So it's good to see teams adapt to the situation in front of them. Run meters finishes 337 to 226. So South Africa edged it in the second half. Kicks from hand was actually pretty low, 16 to 20. A lot of these games have had 50, 60, 70 kicks in them. So for this game to have 36 kicks is pretty low. Possession finishes 51-49. Like, it's tight. South Africa had 60% in the second half. Ireland had like 57% in the first half. So it's just game of two halves, man. Territory, similar deal, finishes pretty even. Clean breaks finishes 4-4. Defenders beaten 23-19. So there's very little between either of these sides. The line out, South Africa was 8 from 10. So a bit better than Ireland's 12 from 18. But Ireland kicked at 100% for their kicking from the tee. Whereas South Africa 20. Penalty conceded 11 to 9. So the South Africa with 2 more. But pretty tight, man. Pretty tight in all facets of the game. Willems, like I mentioned, with his footwork, 73 metres, 5 defenders beaten. Pieter-Steph had 13 from 14 tackles. Kwaka Smith had the most run metres of any of the South African forwards off the bench with 34. Bundee had 66 metres, beat 4 defenders. Van der Flier and Lowe both had a couple of turnovers, one. Doris with 13 from 13 tackles, but man, I haven't seen any of the other games. I haven't seen Chile against England. I haven't seen Georgia against Portugal. I will go back and watch them now. But man, crazy game. Like I said, it feels like a final. Who knows what's going to happen between now and then. There's still a lot of possible results. I mean, Scotland is still very much alive in their pool. Then we've got, goodness knows what France is going to get up to if they can stop getting injured. Which All Black side is going to turn up remains a question. And then there's the other side of the draw. England, who knows what they can do with their kicking game, but I don't know. It's good times to be a rugby fan. You guys let us know your thoughts on the game. And I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.